Welcome in, I'm Artris, and in this video we're going to be going over Starter Deck 21, a mono red 5-life leader, the Monkey D. Luffy Dawn ×1 activate main once per turn, give one of your characters up to 2 rested Dawn cards. Now, there are a few different ways that you can build this leader, and the most common way that I've seen this leader being built is a Strawhat Rush version, which I think is really good, don't get me wrong. I think that's actually probably the right way to build this leader. However, when I first saw this ability, it reminded me of the old starter deck, I think starter deck 1 Luffy, where it's like you get a rested Dawn and you can put it on either your leader or your character, and so you're getting some extra benefit from that. However, this feels like it's slightly better, or at least more efficient, right? And so I was thinking, Luffy was played as more of like a mid-range control deck, and what if this new Starter Deck 21 Luffy could also be played very similarly to how that was played? So this build is based off of that idea, where maybe there's a little bit more of tempo, where you're building some bodies but also removing your opponents at the same time. And so we'll go over the list in a second, but before we do, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that sub button and also like the video if you enjoy it. It helps out the channel so much. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord. The link for that is in the description below. So with all of that in mind, we're building this as more of like a mid-range tempo deck where you do have the aggression maybe mid or early, and then you're also able to have some nice payoff by being able to KO bodies along the way in either the mid to the late stages of the game. So what is the premier red 2K counter that allows you to get things within range of KOing? Otama. This is a great card for this deck. I think that this is just obviously one of the best red 2Ks that you can put in any deck, and I will say this probably for every video that has red in it until the day I die, or I guess not now. We have block rotations, so maybe Otama won't be in the future, but as long as this card is around in a standard rotation, Otama is going to be put into a red deck of some sort. Next, I'm running 4 Shaka, and this one is a little bit different than maybe you would expect. The reason I have this is I feel like it's just a great Dawn efficient card. It's 5 cost, 6,000 power body, that's important. Dawn ×1, activate main once per turn, give up to 2 rested Dawn cards to your leader or one of your characters. So you can put 1 Dawn underneath your leader, and then the rested Dawn that you have that you can play with after that, you can put underneath this, and then this will put 2 more rested Dawn on another character or your leader. So you're getting the max efficiency out of all of the Dawn that you've spent, and that's why I have this in the deck. You can also put in the 5 cost Pell, and there probably is room for that. So before we go any further, I do want to say that this version of the deck, I've been running it for about a week or so, and it feels pretty smooth. However, I don't think it's quite complete yet. So if you have something in mind that might help this along the way, let me know in the comments below, because I think that what we have right now is at least a good start, a good basis, a good shell, but I feel like there's something here that might be missing to get that full picture. Maybe Shaka is not the right card for this deck, but I do think it's a very important card to at least try out in the meantime. Of course, I feel like this deck is made for the 8 cost Dragon, so being able to have Rush, and then on play giving your leader or one of your characters 2 rested Dawn, so then that rested Dawn, if it goes to your leader, then can be used to use the leader ability. So I think this is really important. This will always be a 4 of in any version of the deck, whether it's the control or the Rush version. So I think this is a pretty good card overall. Next, I'm running 4 Wapple. This is an amazing card for what I'm trying to accomplish here. It's a Dawn ×1 when attacking. It's a, before we even get there, 6 cost, 6,000 power body. Give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power for this turn, then give this character plus 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. This will allow you to trade into bodies a lot easier if you're going to try to go that route. It's also going to get some cards within range so that you can KO it with some of your effects. And then also the 6,000 power is pretty important, which we'll get to in a bit. Next, I'm running 4 Lime Juice. This is just a pretty solid utility 2K. There's plenty of times where people will start blockering up with little small blockers, and the Lime Juice being able to have that on play of bypassing blockers that are 4,000 power or less is pretty important. It's a pretty good generic 2K counter to have in the deck. You could argue for the new 2K Sanji that allows a Straw Hat with 6,000 power or less to be on block, but I'm not running that many Straw Hats that have that stat line, or at least that you would want to put that on, so I think that Lime Juice probably comes in a little bit more clutch than that other one. Of course, I'm running 1 Goldie Roger. I feel like this is also a card that I will likely run at least one of in a red deck if I'm running red, because just the fact that it has a win condition written on it is really cool. How else can you describe it? But yeah, this card's amazing in this deck because you're really pressuring your opponent while also controlling the board in some fashion. And if you're unable to accomplish something with a Lime Juice, so if you're going against like a Blackbeard, for instance, and they try to play their 10 cost Blackbeard, this will basically be the win condition against that deck. You could argue to run more. I think if you go more of an aggro variant, you should run at least 2, but here running 1 at least gets the job accomplished in some games. Then we're running the new 3-cost Sanji. This is mostly just to fill out that curve. And the fact that this card replaces itself on KO, so it's a draw card, is really great. A lot of decks nowadays don't have too many options or don't want to spend their resources to get rid of a Sanji. And the fact that when it's on defense, it loses the 3,000 power buff on your offense makes it a card that your opponent's going to want to attack into, because if they don't, then it's going to be a pesky card hitting them every turn. So this card will just replace itself the turn after it's played. This is also great because you do have some cards that you can play on 5 that will be able to help you swing really big that turn for your 5-Dawn turn. Next, we're running 4 of the 2K blocker chopper. This is really good because it's just a solid blocker that you can play on 4. It does fill that curve if you do need to play something down on 4. Of course, we're not running many blockers in this deck, so this could be a nice alternative to staying alive towards the end of the game if you need to, but otherwise, I think that this card's probably going to be a 2K for most times. Next, I'm running 4 of the 1-cost Nami from Starter Deck 1. Activate main once per turn. Give up to one of your Rested Dawn to your leader or one of your characters. So this is mostly here just so you can use your leader ability more often, especially if this is on the field. It's going to be really pesky for your opponent to have to always know that you're going to be able to get your leader ability off. This is great for if you're going against Shanks, because you're always hitting the Shanks leader for at least 6, which is really annoying for them. So yeah, Nami has a lot of purposes here, obviously with the main one being that you can guarantee your leader ability every turn. Another card that has a very similar effect but has more utility here is the 7-cost Newgate from Starter Deck 15. On play, give your leader or one of your characters up to 1 Rested Dawn. As you can see, we have a theme going here that you're able to put a Rested Dawn underneath your leader so that you can get your leader ability off more often. The second part of this is activate main, rest the character, and KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 5,000 power or less. So once again, that also fits within the theme of being able to KO things within a certain range. I feel like this card is actually really great with this leader because your 7 Dawn sometimes can be a little strange, and the fact that it allows you to get your leader ability off on that 7 Dawn turn, I think is pretty important. I might want to increase this more as I play, but as of right now, I'm testing it out at 2. And next, we have the 8 staples that I think belong in this deck. The 4 Monkey D. Luffy from the same Starter Deck 21. This has Rush on it, and then it also says when attacking, give your leader or up to one of your characters 1 Rested Dawn. So the fact that it comes in on 5, swings for 6, and can give your leader a Dawn, so you go 6/6, or you can go 5/7, however you want to choose on that 5 Dawn turn. That is really strong. It allows your leader ability to go off more often, which is what I was talking about when we have the Sanji out on 3. Then you play this out on 5. You can then swing this for 6, give your leader 1 Rested Dawn, and then your leader swings for 6, uses the leader ability, and then swings for 8 with this Sanji. And they're likely going to swing into the Sanji the next turn because they want this thing off the field, getting you a card. So as you can see, our 3 to 5 is really good. Our 7 needs a little bit of help, but that's why we have Newgate in there. And then we have the 4-cost Zoro, which is also from Starter Deck 21. This is Dawn ×2. This character gains Rush. So on your 5 Dawn turn, you can just put 1 under your leader, swing 6, play this out, use your leader ability, and then swing 7 with this. The really great thing about this card and why I've been mentioning the 6,000 power is important is the second part on KO. You may play a red character with 6,000 base power or below other than Zoro from your hand. So we have the Shaka that we can play out to replace this Zoro. We have this Wapple we can play out, and we also have this Luffy we can play out. You might want to argue to increase the amount of 6,000 power bodies, which is why things like Pell are really good, especially in this list, which I haven't been running, because you can actually just get it out for free while also having a swing that same turn. So this Zoro is really great, awesome for the game plan, great way to just pressure your opponent and then force them to answer this the following turn. My favorite play here is to at least have this be KO'd and then play out the Wapple the following turn so we get a free Wapple swing, because KOing 2 things in a turn sometimes is really difficult for opponents. So if they're using their effort to get rid of this thing, then Wapple comes out, that's less options for them to at least try to get rid of this. So this is really important because oftentimes Wapple just doesn't get to swing. For defense, I'm running 2 Rad Beams plus 4,000 power for one 0-cost event. So we do have some bricks here that we can pitch. And then we have 2 of the Divine Parcher. It doubles as both a defensive counter, but also KOs something that's 8,000 power or less for 6 Dawn. The only downside here is that you can't protect your characters with it. So we're running 2 of it because if this could protect leaders and characters, it would be an easy 4 of. And then finally, I'm running 2 of the Gum Gum Mulgun, a 4-cost event that says give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 5,000 power during this turn. Then if you have a character with 6,000 power or more, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a power of 2,000 or less. So as you can see, this can answer a 7,000 power body on its own, which is really great. The other thing here is that you can just use the minus 5,000 power to shrink something down that's not going to get KO'd, but also you have some effect with the Wapple where you're able to minus 2,000 power with a swing, and then you can use the Gum Gum Mulgun to KO something that's 9,000 power. Of course, even higher if you have Otama. So all these are really great to have in the deck. We could use some more power reduction, I think. You could argue for Rayleigh and other things as well, but I think it starts to change the composition of the deck overall. And I think we want to lead with aggression, but also be able to answer bodies where we need to. So that's why I think this deck has some real potential outside of just the Straw Hat build. But let's take it into the sim and see how it does. All right, against Blackbeard, we should have a favorable matchup if we're able to find our rush pieces. So in this mulligan, I don't see any, so let's just go ahead and see if we can get something better. This is a lot better because we're able to potentially play the Nami out. I'm kind of afraid of throwing the Nami out because if we do, it will allow them to just play a Dock Q in response, which is annoying. So at least we're holding on to this. Maybe for counter, we can at least swing into the Lafitte next turn, play out the Nami if we don't have a play of our own, and then go it from there. I think because we just drew into a 2k counter, I think unfortunately we're going to have to just swing really big at this Lafitte. I don't think that this thing should ever stick on the field longer than one turn if it can't be. You know, I'd rather have this thing gone as soon as possible, because this is how Blackbeard can really stay in games, is if they are able to keep this Lafitte going. So let's just go ahead and swing 7 into 1 and then pass the turn. Looks like they're just going to play full of lead. And then start searching, so they have some pretty good stuff here. If they find a Dock Q, that's rather unfortunate, but maybe they won't. Maybe they'll play out the Shiryu. Okay, so they got the Dock Q out on the field. Maybe have an argument to play out the Nami instead so that they couldn't get a search off on one. In hindsight, maybe that was the better play. But here we do have a 6 at lead, and then we're going to go 7 with a Rush Zoro. We are just going to ignore this Dock Q because I don't want to give them cards, and I don't really care that it's on the field. So it can stay there for all I care. The next turn, if they do get rid of this Zoro without using anything like I think it's a Liberation, I think that we should be okay. If they finger gun our Zoro, then we can replace it with Shaka. So we're kind of in an interesting spot depending on what they do here. I think Black Hole's not really the best use of their turn because everything I have is probably going to be Rush or nothing really with on-play effects unless they're afraid of like Beckman. But as you can see, they KO'd our Zoro using the Van Augur Dock Q, and that's totally fine here. We can actually return KO this Van Augur. Even it's going to give him a card. I think the body, getting it off the field is nice. The Gum Gum Mulgun having a great trigger there. And here we can just follow it up with a Zoro, but we are risking the fact that they might have a trigger in life. And I think that's okay. I think what we'll do is go ahead and use the power Shaka here to swing really big. So we'll go ahead and use our leader ability, give 2 on Shaka. Shaka's going to give 2 to the Zoro. So we can go 7, 9, 9, or sorry, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 7, 8, 9. And that's going to be really hard for them to get out of. They do have a lot of cards in hand, of course. So that might not be the hardest, but they'll probably get out of the 7 knowing that the next couple of attacks are going to be pretty big. And I don't think it's worth keeping up any Dawn for the Divine Departure here. Oh, sorry, I did my math wrong. I can't math. 7, 8, 8. So, yeah, what I was saying is like Divine Departure doesn't really matter right here. Because like we would want to use this for late. As you can see, they just dropped 2 2Ks. Okay, that's really good for us because the fact that they don't have those now will mean that it's easier to really crack through in this next turn if we can keep our units alive. It just depends on what they do here. Okay, so they do have the Liberation a turn late. They got rid of the Zoro, so we're unable to use the on KO effect. Not that it mattered, and they just had a finger gun as well. Okay. Wow, opponent's just really doing great answering the board here, but that's okay because we have a dragon this following turn. And if we're unable to use the dragon's on-play effect, which oftentimes I would expect that to not happen, we can still give Rested Dawn to the dragon with our leader ability because we're going to be on 9 Dawn, so we go 1 under our leader, swing 6. The amount of 2Ks they just dropped means they probably don't have another one. We'll take that life, of course, doesn't really matter. And then we got a Rad Beam, so we're pretty set for the end game, at least surviving if we need to. Hopefully they don't swing at the characters, of course. But we'll throw a dragon out this turn. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so even if they have a 10 drop, if we can crack through these 2 lives right here, I think that we'll be pretty set. We have a Gold D Roger. We have our win condition here. Very nice. Of course, if they use a blocker, if either of us are at 0, then I win the game. So here we're just going to do exactly what I said. Swing 6, swing 11. The fact that they took the 6 obviously means they're taking the 11 there. So here, their best play would be just concede. I'm kidding. The best play would be to give us the 10 drop and then stop the dragon and then hope that they can stop like 2 attacks. But unbeknownst to them, I do have the Goldie Roger, so we are setting pretty. What we'll end up doing is if they do play the 10 drop, we swing 5 first with the Roger on the field. So that way they have to give us a card for it. As you can see, they have the 10 drop. Here, I mean, it doesn't matter. We're going for game next turn, but I'll just give them a counter just to safe. And then here we go to swings 5. They have to give us a counter. And then with only 2 cards in hand at that point, they have to block, and that means we win the game. So I think that we obviously got a little lucky there with the Goldie Roger draw, but we also had a top deck of Dragon, which would have likely gotten us through yeah, we would have been fine. Either way, I think, actually, it would have been close, but yeah, I think we'll be fine. Shanks is going to be one that we obviously want to take first from so that we can lead our aggression against them. But unfortunately, they took first from us. So this hand is actually not that bad. We do have a couple of different options on different turns. If we need to play defensive, we can always throw the Sanji down, the chopper down. If we need to play a little bit more aggressively, which we should in this matchup, you just swing this next turn, 6 at lead, and then throw the Sanji down. And then you'll have it to swing with the next turn because they can't Beckman it that following next turn. So that being said, we're pretty set with our plays, and then obviously on the 8 Dawn turn, we can go and play the new gate down if we want to, or we can throw the dragon down, which might be the better option just to go face, but it depends on what their board looks like at that point. So we have a couple of plays set up or mapped for the next couple of turns here. I don't know what version this Shanks could be on. There's a bunch of different ones going around. It looks like we got our answer. This is going to be the animal version, and I think that one's probably going to be one of the least played versions of Shanks. If I'm being honest, I feel like the versions to play will be like Strawhat or a Rush variant of Shanks. I think that's probably going to be the most popular, or at least maybe the most successful in the right hands. And then I think the other version of Shanks is more of like Red Luffy. Will be pretty strong. I think that one won't be nearly as like topping as maybe the aggressive Shanks. And then I think Animal Shanks is not bad, but I just don't think it's necessarily going to be super popular, or at least we won't see too many choppers in builds. I'm just assuming. I don't know. I don't know if the Rush version is running these choppers. I think that they're just replacing them with Sanjis, but who knows. They take the 6. That's very interesting to see, and we'll throw it on the Sanji. Sanji's great against Shanks because of the fact that it swings for 6. So Shanks has to use their leader ability plus a counter out of hand if they want to counter out of it. That's perfect for us. This next turn, I think what we could just end up doing is play out the Shaka and then swing, well, I guess swing 6 with our leader and then swing 8 with the Sanji and have a Shaka on the field. I think that's pretty good. Is it Shaka, Chaka? I don't know. Either's fine. I guess either's fine. And then the following turn, if we do need to use the new gate, which they're running animal version, they might spam the board. New gate could be pretty good here overall. They just play out a hiking bear. Sometimes Shanks' hands are a little bit strange. Oh, and a Monet. Monet is actually a really interesting addition to the deck. Monet, of course, has the activate main. You may rest this character, give 2 rested Dawn. I believe it's to a leader or character, but at least I know for sure it's a leader. And then minus 1,000 power to a character on the field. So this allows them to swing 5 and 7. So we're going to probably need to counter out of this one, at least to stay relatively healthy, because I don't think I want to be taking a 5 and a 7. I don't want to go down to 3 against Shanks this early. For the most part, I'm okay taking life in most matchups, but I think here we need to be just a little bit careful where we can be. This is actually decent. We can throw this Nami out, and I think that might be a decent option here, unless, I don't know, unless they have a way to kill it, which wouldn't make sense for them really to. So we can use the Nami to give rested Dawn to our leader. I'm going to go ahead and get this Monet off the field because I just think it's going to be quite the nuisance. So let's go ahead and try to clean board the best that we can. The Hiking Bear and the Duck Squad aren't really too much of a threat to us, but this Monet over time could be because of the fact that it allows their leader or their character to be pumped up. And then you have the fact that it minuses 1,000 Dawn or 1,000 power is really annoying. And then 8 into 5, they could just use their leader ability here and then give us a 2 and a 1, but that might be too many cards for them to pitch at this point in time. So yeah, they let it go. That's probably the right choice. I think that they should just hold on to the cards in hand. I don't think they want to go down to like 3 or 4 by turn 4. Like that's too few cards in hand in my opinion, but who knows? I feel like this turn they're probably going to be on, so they're on 7. They could just easily do a Beckman play here. They could go swing 5 at the Sanji and then Beckman the Shaka, which I feel like that's probably going to be really hurtful for us. But if they do that, then that might mean that we have the opportunity to just hit face really hard with the dragon. We could do that. We could also go Otama Newgate and get rid of a Rayleigh, or sorry, a Beckman if that's the case. So we have a couple of options here, but it just depends on what this... Oh, interesting. Didn't expect a Monet and a Chopper. Okay, so their hand isn't looking amazing. This is probably a really weak turn from the opponent here. Not probably, it is a very weak turn from the opponent here. Unless they decide to swing really wide with these things, they could go and... guess do the Monet on the Hiking Bear. Hiking Bear then gives Dawn to the Duck Squad. I don't know. Regardless, I'm going to let the Sanji go. We always will allow that to happen so we can get card draw off. And, ooh, the Mulgun's actually pretty solid here. So Mulgun, seeing how they played this turn, I think it's more indicative that I'm going to be playing my Newgate this next turn. I swing the Duck Squad, just naked. Did they expect it to go back to hand? The Duck Squad will only, when you're attacking... Yeah, it looks like they said why. Okay, so it only comes back to your hand if your leader is active, and then I think you minus a 5,000 power to your leader, and then it bounces back to hand. So not worth it at all. So we're going to go ahead and use the Newgate to pop the Chopper, because the Chopper is more of a threat than the Monet. It's also a blocker, which is really annoying. And if they are leaving 2 up for Red Hawk, let's go ahead and make sure that this Nami is getting value. So we're just going to swing 9/9. As you can see, we played 7 Dawn and we got 6 of it back. Actually, that's not even true. We got most of it back. That's insane that we're on 8 Dawn. So we essentially just played the Newgate for free because we got that 7 Dawn back. That's the power of Chaka here. Shaka. I'm going to like flip it up for you guys. If you hear say Shaka, if you hear me say Chaka, it's the same thing. So we're going to go 9 at lead here. And then they'll likely take this one unless they can use leader ability plus a Red Hawk, which I don't know if too many people are running Red Hawk these days. They are running the 1-cost event Divine Departure, which that could be why they're leaving Dawn up, but that would also mean that they'd have to give me 2 cards because Divine Departure is only plus 3,000. So let's see what it is. Or maybe it's nothing at all. It could be just a big bluff. And it appears that it is. Yep. Okay, so we're in a good spot here. I think this turn we have a pretty interesting board for them to deal with, which might be very difficult. I think their best play could be like a Rayleigh maybe, and then clear the board that way. A Rayleigh gets rid of the Shaka, and then minus 2,000 to the Newgate, and then Monet will then pump up our leader, or their leader, and then they minus 1,000 to that. So yeah, that's kind of annoying. Exactly the best play there. So Rayleigh, as I said, will be able to KO the Shaka for free. 2,000 to the Newgate. I expect the Monet. Oh, they KO the Nami. Not, maybe they're just planning to swing into the bodies. That could be, I mean, that's actually pretty good as well because, I mean, unbeknownst to them, I only have 2Ks in hand. So that's really annoying for me to have to deal with. I don't want to be countering out of all these attacks with 2Ks. So something's probably going to go down. Although if I was playing the Shanks, I would probably just like not KO the Nami. I'd rather just get rid of the Shaka for like guaranteed at least. So yeah, I think here it's going to be difficult. I think we might just have to give this one up. I at least give this card up, and then I want to be able to protect my Newgate. I guess technically we could go like 2K here, and then maybe protect the Newgate. But I don't know. I'd rather just make sure that the Newgate stays alive because they can't swing the Hiking Bear into the Newgate. They only can swing their leader into it. So this way we're not dumping all 4 of our 2Ks. We're only dumping 2 of them. I think it's a little bit more efficient. Just give up the Shaka and then make sure that the Newgate stays alive. We could, this turn, go like Gum Gum Mulgun minus 5,000 to the Rayleigh and then Newgate it. We could also go Otama, Mulgun, KO the Rayleigh, and then use the Newgate on the Monet. But I just think we just hit face. They're 2 life. This next turn, if they're playing the best card that they have in their deck, it'd be like the 10-cost Rush Shanks. And if we're only having that Newgate turn sideways and we clear their board, it doesn't really make sense to do that. So I think we just pressure them really hard here. We go 8, 9, 9. And if they want to counter out of any of these, this one would be the one to counter out of, and it would be 2 cards minimum. So I think that this is probably our best bet, just to turn the gas on. We can't really fool around with their bodies too much anymore, considering this next turn, like I said, if their optimal play comes down, then yes, they will be playing out the 10-cost Shanks, and we have to worry about that. I think that's more important. Yeah, they use leader ability here, and they give us likely 2k, 1k. Hopefully something different. Okay, so 2k, 1k. 2k, 2k. Okay, that's pretty nice. I do like that. Here we'll just go 9 at lead, and then we'll just finish it up with another 9 at lead. And then this makes it a little bit awkward here because 10-cost Shanks isn't necessarily a really strong play here because of the fact that they should block her up if they have blockers. If they play the 10-cost Shanks here, I might be able to protect both units. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how they do it. They do have this Monet that they can activate, so that will make it a little bit harder to calculate, especially not knowing which one they'll go on. The rest Monet, then they're going to give their leader 2 Dawn. They're going to minus, if I were to minus 1, well, probably the dragon, so they're both at 7. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, and then you just go like 7, 8, 12. I can get out of a 7, 8, 12, so at least we can protect one of these bodies here. That's actually pretty nice. I think we would have been fine either way. If they went and minus the Newgate and they swung 7 at Newgate, I could give them a 2k. And then if they swung 8 at Newgate, I could go 2k, 1k. And then at least that guarantees the dragon or the Newgate stay alive. Or rather, the dragon would stay alive at that point. Or one of them would. Okay, so yeah, exactly that. Here they go 7 at Newgate. They have to get this off the field. And then they have to have every card in their hand be a counter to keep them alive. So yeah, here we can just go 6 at lead. And then have them use leader ability plus a 1k. And then we just go the rest on Newgate. I think it's either way, it's probably, I think it might be guaranteed or close to, unless, like I said, they have like an immense amount of 2ks here. So yeah, I think we're fine. Okay, leader ability plus 1k, and then we just go a big fat 16. And here, yeah, if it was like a 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, yeah, even if they had it all 2ks, we would have it at that point in the game. They didn't have a single counter in hand. Okay, typical Shanks gamer. They did have the Red Hawk, by the way. Interesting to see. Yeah, I don't know. This opponent had an interesting setup. Opponent had a few weird plays, but overall, I think they had some strong ones as well that made up for it. All right, Red Green Smoker, another leader that we're going to be seeing quite often with the new bans in place. I think this hand's pretty solid. We have a Luffy on 5. We have a Dragon on 8. We do have the Momo gun if we're able to at least establish the Luffy and keep it alive on 5 and then go into 7. If they play out a Smoker without a Tashigi, then we're able to at least get rid of it. Or I think we're able to. No, we'd have to actually play the Otama because the Smoker leader ability on defense gives it plus 1,000 power. But regardless, we can still attempt to do that if we need to. We can also play the Divine Departure as well. Here, we'll just go ahead and play the Nami out and then just swing. Oh, in case they're running Red Hawk, you never know. I'm going to go ahead and just swing 7 first. If they have a Red Hawk, then 7 or 8 doesn't really matter. And we get to keep the Nami for the next turn. And the reason why keeping the Nami for this turn is important is because if we play the Luffy down, which we will be able to swing even harder because we can put 1 under our leader with the Nami ability and then put 2 underneath the Luffy. And then the Luffy will be at 8 swinging in and then give my leader 1. So we'll swing 8, 7, but we have to do it a little bit backwards. Obviously, you want to swing 7, 8 first. Fortunately, can't quite get there. They play out the Sanji, and then they're using the ability to make the Sanji, or they're putting a Dawn underneath it to make it 7, use their Smoker ability to restand 2 Dawn if they have a 7,000 power character on the field. And then Straw Sword this early. Okay. Honestly, that does slow down. It stems the aggression on my part. So that actually isn't the worst play. It's a little weird, but it actually works for them. So we're going to just be aggressive. We're going to go 6, and we're going to go 6. And it might be a version where they're playing aggressive themselves because of the fact that they are running Straw Sword. Although I don't know if that really means they're being super aggressive, but yeah, maybe it's like a backup for Hody Jones in case they're... Oh my gosh, they just gave us 2 1Ks. And it does look like they're running more of the aggressive version with the Zoro in it. That on KO gives you a 6,000 power body, the one that we have in our deck. So this should be interesting. It's kind of a race at this point, and I think we're going to win it because we're at 5 life and they're at 4. But we do have to be aware that they do have like the 8-cost kid or a play like that to be made, and that could be quite annoying because that will definitely slow us down for a turn. But we do have the Gum Gum Mulgun to at least keep in our hand. If we can't KO it, we can at least minus it by 5,000 power. So we do have a couple options there. Here, as you can see, they're playing the Smoker, the 5-cost Smoker for 7,000 power. It has Banish and it restands 1 Dawn. They swing 6 at lead. Okay, I'm going to take these. I will gladly take these because these cards that they're going to give me, if they're going to swing life, will be able to... Yeah, okay, they're playing aggressive. Zoro, I'll take it. And then, do I take this one? Might as well, right? Give me all the counter here. Okay, so this one, I think we actually play out a Luffy again. We drew into one. I was going to play out the dragon this turn. Oh, no, I wasn't. I was not even on 8 yet. So, no, this is fine. What we can end up doing is swinging really big here and leaving 1 open for Divine Departure. And I think we just ignored their board because they gave us 2 1Ks. That's a huge sign of weakness in my opinion. And if they... Yeah, their hand is not... Their hand might be really messed up right now. Okay, we're going to keep going then. Oh, no. Oh, no. Is this going to connect? It has to, right? By turn 4? Are we winning by turn 4? Oh my god. They're playing like a Straw Hat version. This is I've seen this version going around. Wow, they had 1 1K. That's insane. Ooh, Lim. Okay, another top tier deck in this meta. So we're getting some good ones tonight. This hand's really good as well. We have the 3-cost Sanji into the 5-cost Luffy. We're also going first, which is really good for that curve. We have the Wapple to follow up with, and Wapple's probably going to stick on the board because Lim doesn't run too much removal. The removal that they do have rests 5-cost, or it KOs like a 3-cost, I believe, unless they're running the 9-cost KO Shanks, which who knows, they might. But here, we're going to swing 5. Usually Lim takes the first hit because they're like, yeah, give me cards because I don't want you to swing into my bodies. But I'm just going to play aggressive, get them down to low life. We'll play out the Sanji and then pass. And then this next turn, we will have a pretty solid turn overall. We can go 5-cost Luffy, swing Luffy for 6, put the Dawn underneath my leader, swing for 6 with lead, and then put the 2 rested underneath the Sanji and swing for 8. That's actually our ideal curve here. Unless, of course, we do get a Zoro. I think the Zoro also might be a pretty good option as well. But we'll see. Okay. I think we just do what I just said. Yeah, we go 5-cost Luffy, swing 6 at lead. I don't think there's a reason to swing 6 at the Sabo. But if they start countering out here because they're afraid of our aggression, then we might want to turn our attention to the Sabo. But for now, 6 to 5 is much better than 6 to 6. That's just fundamentals for you. If you're swinging at somebody and you have the opportunity to swing at a body for 1K counter or their lead for 2K counter, I most oftentimes will swing at lead for that 2K counter. So we get the 2K counter, maybe we'll get another one here. If we get another one here, then I think we turn our attention to the Sabo by swinging 8 at the Sabo, and then that way we clear their board. They don't get the value of the Sabo by getting card draw when it has, I think it's like 3 or more rested bodies on the field, which is pretty easy for them to hit this next turn anyway. So I think they're countering out now expecting that the Sabo will survive. But because really we're not accomplishing much by swinging life, I think we just, swing into the Sabo and they let it go. Here they're going to be on, they're on 7 Dawn. And I think what they can end up doing is just go like, their leader ability, maybe play a 3-cost and then swing 6 at something. They have a couple of options as well. This might be exactly what they're doing here. Of course, I'm going to let that go. We get a nice 1K counter to replace it. And then this next turn, we're going to probably just play out the Wapple. I think Wapple's fine to play out. They go Lim for 3. Yep. We might also have an opportunity to just swing at the bodies as well, depending on what happens here. This Lim is searching the top 5, I believe. It's a 5, 4, 5. I should know better. They're finding an audio, which is the... it's the 9-cost audio, which is kind of an annoyance, but it's okay. We'll be fine. Here, they're playing out their leader ability, ramping 1 to get into Nell. That's actually pretty solid here because of the fact that they have 2 rested. He's able to draw 3 and then trash 2. That's really powerful on a body that's 6,000 power. This is why Lim is so good, is because Lim ramps up. Their on-play effects are really good. And on top of that, like, okay, you have rested bodies, but they're like protecting you or protecting me from swinging in. So yeah, it's really good overall. We're going to go ahead and just try to get rid of this Enel, I think. They got a bunch of cards in hand, And I think it's fine to go 8 into 6 here and see if they let it go. If they let it go, awesome, we'll go 7 into 5. If they don't let it go, I still think we don't swing 7 into 6. I think we go 7 into 5 and get rid of the limb. That way it's easier for us to have like just counter out of 2 bodies, like a leader swing in a body rather than, 2 bodies and then a leader swing. So I think that this is fine. Probably a point of contention for the opponent here. That's why they were taking a little while to counter out the 2 and a 1, and then would have been too much, and then maybe a 2 and a 1 again would have been too much to keep this board alive. I think typically what ends up happening with Lim is they like to counter out when it matters the most. So that meaning like when the 9 cost Zoro comes down, they have the counter to be able to keep it alive. That's really important for them. But if they do have a 9 cost Zoro, we actually have an answer to it this turn. And so hopefully we can show that off with the Gum Gum Mulgun. So if they play out a 9 cost Zoro, it's 9,000 power. You put 1 under Wapple, you swing at lead minus 2,000 to the Zoro. Then you play the Gum Gum Mulgun minus 5,000 to the Zoro, and then KO it if it's a 2,000 power or less. Here we give them a 1k counter, and it looks like, yeah, whew. Let's go. We love to see that. Okay, so we're able to at least pull this off, but we want to use it efficiently here. We are able to do this. We can play out a Shaka for 5. Swing the Luffy for 6, put the 1 rested underneath my leader. So then we're able to use the leader ability to give 2 to Wapple. Then we can swing 6 at lead. I don't think they have anything that will rest the Wapple unless like they're playing Punk Gibson, but kind of seems weird. So 6 into 5, they'll give us another 2k if they want to kind of keep alive here. They're just taking it. Okay. Because I think they're expecting me to swing at this Zoro, but I'm not. I think they're wanting to like keep their hand for the big Wapple swing into Zoro, but that's not happening. Here, we'll just play out the Gum Gum Mulgun, get rid of this Zoro, and then pass the turn. And now they have to block her up or else they're pretty much toast. I think that they have a lot of cards in hand, but I don't think that many cards is going to protect them from the onslaught of things that are coming. They could also play a 10 cost Dofi, but if they do that, then, I mean, I could just swing 16 with the Shaka. I could swing, depends on if I get a rush unit, we could divide it up or whatever, but yeah, I think we'll probably just swing 16. I don't know. We'll see what they do. I think that's probably our best bet. Of course, they could just block her up. That might be 5. Okay. Yeah, we'll take it. We do have a Zoro. I don't know if that's the best use of a rush unit. Dragon's better. Okay, we'll just dragon. Dragon to then use the shock ability to give 2. Yeah, okay, that's fine. They had probably not enough counter anyway. They could have just swung 16, but if we can play dragon, play the dragon. Purple Luffy, you're going to always want to go first. So obviously the opponent's going to choose first here. I think that this hand is actually pretty solid, even though we're going second. We can play out the Sanji and then play out the Luffy the following turn. We also have the option of playing the Wapple, but sometimes I think it's just better to get the non-counter cards out of your hand in these scenarios and then save the counter cards for when you need them. Even if Wapple is like probably the best thing to play into Luffy, I feel like just having this 5 cost Luffy come down is probably better. Obviously, it depends on the board state here, but let's see how the game progresses out. So yeah, we'll go ahead and just pass the turn, nothing to do. I should expect from them like a Zoro Juro. That's usually their optimal play. They use their leader ability, go to 4 Dawn, and then play out the Zoro Juro. So we'll just take this. There's always like an opportunity for them to play like Blocker Law if they do have it, but most are not running it these days, so I'm going to be greedy and take it because I'm never, ever punished. But we do have a pretty solid hand here regardless. So we're looking pretty good. Yeah, we're looking pretty good here. Just play the Zoro Juro, buddy. You're fine. Just do it. I know what you're doing. And you got to be kidding me. What? Dude, am I getting sniped? What's going on? Okay, so I have such bad luck. Okay, so yeah, they do rip 2 cards from hand. Luckily, we do have the duplicate Wapple and a duplicate Sanji, so the Wapple and the Sanji are both just ripped, but we have backups. I can't believe that actually happened. What are the chances that actually... Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, so 6 at lead. We'll play out the Sanji and then pass the turn. I think that was probably okay for us actually at the end of the day, because yeah, they got like 2 1Ks out of hand, but we do have a backup for both of them, and then they're minus 1 Dawn. So basically, they didn't really ramp to like their max efficiency, so they're not playing like the 7 cost Luffy Taro into a Sangoro. So maybe this law is actually not the worst thing for us. It kind of feels like it, of course, but oh well. But we do have our curve. We have like our best curve here, going and playing the Luffy and then being able to get like a max swing with the Sanji. Oh, double Luffy here. I feel like it's telling me to play this. I feel like it's like saying, okay, you're in between Wapol and Luffy. I feel like you should just go with Luffy. Okay, Kid. Kid's solid. The fact that they didn't really have anything else to play that turn is like Kid's their best play. Here, I'm really debating it. I'm thinking like we could play the Wapol down. That means that our Luffy won't be able to like really swing. So let's swing 6 first and just see like if they block with this at all, if they give us any information. If they counter out, then I kind of want to play out the 5-cost Luffy even more. Okay, I feel like I want to play out this 5-cost Luffy even more because I want to pressure their hand a little bit more than what that one swing is worth. So if we have this 5-cost Luffy played, that means we have 2 options for them to swing into, so more options for the opponent to potentially mess up. If we just have the one Sanji rested, then that means they can only swing at the Sanji and only swing at life. So I want to give them a couple of options at least, knowing that I could protect it. So let's go ahead and do the ability here. Swings 8 into lead, and then we will pass that one Dawn onto the Luffy. This might be a Gum Gum Giant, but this is rather early for a Gum Gum Giant if they do have it. So they're at 6 Dawn, that would put them back -2. Then they'd have to use their leader ability the next turn to go up to 7. And they're like really far behind at that point, if that's the case. But maybe to them, keeping healthy is more important. I would argue that it's not. They might just block this as well. They do have the blocker law, and they didn't swing with the blocker law. They haven't been aggressive with it. They're playing more defensively here. So yeah, I think that you just don't use the giant here and you just block with like a law. Or they could just take it. I mean, that's also an option too. Here, I fully expect... Okay, they just blocked with that. Maybe they don't have too many 2Ks. Maybe their hand's kind of bricked here. That's what's that's telling me there, is that they blocked with the law so that the 5-cost Kid couldn't have done like a block 2K. It feels like their hand's probably a little bit bricked. Good for us to see. This Luffy Taro into the Zoro Juro, which is what we held off for a turn because they played out the law blocker. So honestly, this is pretty good. It's looking pretty good here. I think they're probably just going to swing into the Sanji. If they swing into the Sanji, I think that's fine. We just let it go, obviously. That's what it's there for. And then I think the following turn, we could play out the Luffy, but I think the Dragon's just a better play. Because like the Dragon's harder to swing into on their side of the field, whereas the Luffy's pretty easy to swing into. Sure, we'll have Dawn open for the Rad Beam, but Rad Beam's better later when we are at 2 life. 5 into 3. Okay, yeah, easy. I'll take it. They could swing the Kid at this Luffy, and if they do swing 8 at the Luffy, I think I'll just protect it. Give them a 1K, 2K. I think that's fine. They don't, so that's good for us. Okay, so we're going to go the Dragon, put the 2 Dawn under our leader, use our leader ability, swing 8, use the Luffy ability, put a Dawn underneath my leader. So we'll go 8, 8, 9. Here, they probably should use a Giant, because this is a pretty easy Giant play for them to make. Using a Giant, pitching a Luffy Taro. So yeah, their hand is a little bit bricked here, but I think that's the power of Giant, is that they're able to unbrick their hand. So we'll go 8. They might use another Giant. There's a world where they actually use another one. They left 2 up for a reason, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. But it also could be an easy like 2K, 2K. I don't know if it's easy. They might have drawn into him just now with the Giant. The way that they've been playing though kind of tells me that they don't have too much counter. The fact that they just like almost snap blocked at that one point and they block 2K, 1K. I feel like this is a bait. I feel like it's a bait for me to swing into the Kid. And so I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to go 9 into 5. If they have another Giant, they're going to have to use it plus another card outside of that one Giant. So I think that this is better here rather than just swinging at the Kid. Because if they do have another Giant and they want to use 2 Giants in a turn, sure, that's probably not the best use of their Dawn, but it also guarantees that things stay healthy or alive and they can refresh their hand. So if I swing into the Kid, it's an easy Giant and they don't have to give me anything else. We do have a backup Dragon as well, so if this one Dragon for some reason goes down, we have another one, but if it doesn't go down, we are in a pretty good position to go and play out the Dragon, put 2 under the leader, and then just swing really big 3 times. And that's going to be difficult for someone like Purple Luffy to be able to counter out of. All right, so they just go and swing a 5 into lead. I think we just take this one and kind of bait them to see if they go further in, because if I take this 5, like they might consider swinging the rest into my leader and try to go for game. And that's fine. I have a lot of counter in hand, and I think I should be okay to get out of some of these attacks. But they might realize that, oh, I swung 5, they took it. Maybe I should start swinging at the bodies if I need to get rid of these threats. That's probably more important here. So let's go ahead and give them a 1k and then have them focus their Luffy Taro at the Luffy. So if they decide to swing 8 into 6, we actually can counter out of that pretty easily as well. And here for, what is it, 8 Dawn. So they might play out another Luffy Taro. Go really wide. That could be a good option. They want to get real ballsy, they could go and use their leader ability to play out a Lin and then heal back up. I mean, that's not really ballsy, but it's like, oh my gosh, they might be doing it. They might actually be doing it. Oh my god. That's actually a pretty smart play. I think that's pretty good because they're able to at least remove the Luffy and they get the life back. So it's like it's a guaranteed removal. They can use, if I don't have like a rusher this turn, which I do, but if you know they don't know that, then they can block one of these attacks and then stay alive. So yeah, I think that's fine. Oh, and then they get the Kid ability as well. Actually, it's a really solid play. Okay, so wasn't ballsy, just smart. We'll go 7 into 5, and then we'll go 9 into 5, and then we'll use our leader ability and go 11 into 5. So we're escalating up really heavily, and I'm going to leave these 2 Dawn open in case these attacks do not go through. So they block 2k. Usually that's not the right thing to do. I don't think you want to block 2k because I'm not focusing on your board at all. I'm just going to go for face. But back to what I was saying, I'm leaving the 2 Dawn open because I have a Rad Beam and a Divine Departure. If for some reason these attacks don't go through, I will at least have somewhat of a way to protect myself at the end of the game. So I think that's important to leave the 2 open. But here they might not have enough. They barely have enough. They just have like 10k instead of the 11k attack. Wow, that was pretty close considering it felt like they were pretty bricked up. But I feel like if they had a giant there, obviously they would have been able to survive and just prolong the game by a turn. That was really good on our part to stay that aggressive. Well, as you can see, we were actually able to pull off some interesting combos during those games. There were some times where maybe the opponent misplayed, but I think overall we got a good scope of how this deck plays out. I mean, we did go against some good meta leaders, considering with all the bans in place. So I feel like this Luffy maybe needs a little bit of work, as I said in the intro, but I think it's getting there if you're wanting to go more of a control variant. I think this could be a very interesting route outside of just the Straw Hat build. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.